One of the greatest things that I like about having my website is the personal interaction that it gives me with the fans. A lot of the time I get super busy and it has never crossed my mind to have somebody else run that site for me. My site is the very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning. I roll over and I reach for my laptop, and before I go to bed at night, it's the very last thing I do. Unless, of course, I'm masturbating, in which case it is the second to last thing that I do. I've definitely woken up before sleeping next to it, like curled up next to my laptop. I think it's really good for me to be doing my site right now. It's sort of become like porno scrapbooking because I take so many pictures everywhere I go. I've really opened up parts of my life to people that I don't really think they've ever seen before. I mean, you can watch the behind the scenes of my movies, but here you get a more access to my personal life, like really what goes on when I'm not on a movie set. And I do all kinds of stuff through my website. For instance, it's coming up on Christmas, and I decided to do a food drive at Wicked, and I've carried the food drive on to my website, and anyone that sends me in a $25 gift card from any of my local grocery stores, or if they're in a different area of the country, it can come from Walmart, but anyone that sends that in to me gets a free autographed DVD. And as I'm accumulating these gift cards, every time I go shopping for the food drive, I take pictures for my website. So when it's all over with, I'm going to have pictures of me with all of this food and personal stuff for the food drive. And I think that it's just cool to be able to use it in more ways than one. Something else that I did for the election is I told everyone that voted if they were to email me a picture of their voting sticker or a picture of their stub off of their ticket if they didn't want to be in the picture, that I would send them a free autographed DVD. And that's actually something that I started at Free Ones, and I carried it over to my website. So I just like the ability to be involved in so many different ways in my site. Now we get to the good stuff. My favorite sexual position on camera is standing doggy with one of my legs up, because I'm curved on the inside, and I figure that's the easiest way for someone to hit my G-spot. And my favorite position in my personal life would have to be doggy, laying all the way down on the bed or table or floor or wherever I happen to be, with my legs closed together, like it's laying flat down on the ground. That is amazing. However, it's not very good for camera, so I can only do it on personal time. Way back in the beginning, when I got my first porno paycheck ever, it was kind of on the bigger side because I had been paid to do an entire movie. And it was around the same time that I realized I had pretty much been a tomboy for a few years. So I took that check and I did throw it in the bank. But right after that, I went and I had my hair done. I went to a spa and treated myself like a girl for an entire day. And then I went and I took a makeup artist with me, and I had her teach me how to do my own makeup, and she took me makeup shopping. So it was actually a big part of my education when I first got into the business, because I had to buy a makeup kit and brushes and learn how to use it and pretty much graduate from being a tomboy to an adult actress. Were you expecting I was going to say like drugs? Drugs, some booze, a couple of hookers. That makes for a much more exciting interview, doesn't it? I think that porn has definitely affected my personal sex life, but not always in a bad way, only occasionally in a bad way. The bad way that it's affected it is that occasionally when I'm having sex at home, I find myself cheating for the camera. That means maybe I'm open a little bit more than I normally would be, or if I'm having sex like cowgirl, I'll arch my back really big and like look over my shoulder for the camera. I find myself doing that a little bit. But the other ways that it's affected my personal sex life are really all good. Anytime I've ever had a fantasy that I've been too timid to try out in my personal life, I put it in a movie. I've always wanted to have sex in a laundromat. We made a movie called Fluff and Fold. I've always wanted to be involved in really big orgies, but out in the real world, maybe that's not the best idea because you just don't know where people have been. That's where my big orgies come from. And also, but even before I got into the business, I had always had this really secret fantasy because I didn't tell anybody. I wanted to sleep with 2 guys, and I had never done it before because, I mean, I'd be a big whore and that wouldn't be right and all my friends would be appalled. But I was finally able to do that, and not very long ago did I do it for the first time. I didn't just jump into the business and have sex with 2 guys at the same time. I just did it for the first movie I ever directed 100% on my own, called What Girls Like. And I did a scene with Randy Spears and Herschel Savage, and it was really tough because I wanted to make sure that I gave them both equal attention. But it went really well, and I actually just did it again in another movie because I liked it so much. So in that way, I think it's definitely affected my personal life for the better. It allows me an outlet to really explore some of the fantasies that I've had but that I've been too scared to act on. My first DP that I did in Fallen with 2 guys. Whew, that was so much fun. But again, you try calling up 2 random guys to come to your house and DP you because it's just really not the same. It's not as easy as it sounds. Also, all the blow bangs that I've done. I did a blow bang in The Collector. I did another one in Sold. I did one in Bad Girls that I'm actually nominated for at the Avian Awards. And then I just did a scene with 3 guys at the same time in a movie. It's just stuff I would never, ever get to do as a civilian. And I think that's part of what makes my job so great. I'm so in love with it because I truly love the sex. I love it. When I am not working, which isn't very often, I do have some hobbies. One of my very favorite things to do ever is cook. I'm pretty much a gourmet cook. My breakfast specialty is steak, eggs Benedict, and I make the hollandaise sauce from scratch. It's my specialty. As far as lunch goes, it would be like a specialty salad. I just did a really great candied walnut, endive, and glazed pecan salad with gorgonzola cheese. I just made that right around Thanksgiving. For dinner, I'd say my specialty, if it's not steak, because I throw a mean steak on the grill, it would have to be rack of lamb. I do a really great rack of lamb with a little rosemary, roasted new potatoes, and some steamed vegetables. And I bake and make cookies, pies, candy, fudge, everything every year around the holidays, and everybody knows this, and I take it to Wicked, and I get on the PA in the office. After several trips to and from my car, I completely fill up the tables in the break room, and I get on the PA and I make an announcement, and probably within 60 seconds of me making the announcement, there's a stampede throughout the whole entire office, and I can hear everybody running. Cooking is something that I do to relax myself. Like I said, I do it around the holidays for about 2 or 3 days straight. And then during the rest of the year, sometimes I just go downstairs and go through the kitchen cabinets and try to figure out a dish I can make or a meal that I can make that I don't have a recipe for and that I do have all the ingredients for in my cabinets. So it's kind of like a challenge. I think cooking is my yoga, although I do a little bit of yoga every now and then. I also like to shop a lot. I like to go to the spa. I'm on that computer a lot, so I don't have so much free time. I also read. I'm a really avid reader, and I like courtroom novels, any type of a drama. I love all of that. True crime, a lot of forensics and stuff. That's about all that I have time for. If it's the computer first and then everything else. The music that I most like listening to is going to surprise you. I'm a big lover of rap music. I like gangster rap, I like hip hop, love the new Kanye CD. It is so good. I like Ludacris, I like DMX, I like Tupac, I like, oh, there's so much. I like T.I., I like Lil Wayne. A big hip hop fan here. But that being said, I will literally listen to anything. I have music on constantly. It's in my car. I have 2 iPods that are fully loaded, plus I have it on my iPhone. I have a ton of music on my iPhone. I'm always on iTunes. I have satellite TV, and usually that's on the music channel. So music is a really important part of my life. I'll listen to anything though. I don't really love country music, but there are country songs that I'll have too. I drive a Jaguar XJ8L. I joke around that I call it an 8 big because it wasn't very long ago that I found out what those 8 cylinders meant. So I call it my 8 big. It feels like driving my couch around, like in my living room, because it's so big, hence the L for long. I am a crazy fast driver. If there's no traffic on the freeway that I'm driving on, which is rare because this is LA, I generally drive around 90 miles an hour. That being said, I haven't had an accident, knock on wood. I love to drive. The driving and the loud music for me usually really go hand in hand. Prior to the Jag, I had a very tiny Mercedes 2-seater convertible, and to me, after a while, that was just like tempting fate because, like I said, I drive super fast. So then you've got me driving super fast with the top down in a convertible. It's totally topless. And once I was doing probably about 120 or 130, and it kind of started coming up a little bit off the road, and it occurred to me that I'd really be in bad shape if I wrecked that car with the top down. So started driving a little bit slower, but instead of changing the way I drove, I just decided to get a bigger, safer car. My dream car is the Maserati Quattro, which I'm looking at right now. I'm thinking about getting rid of the Jag. Maserati is my dream car. Not really sure if I'm going to get one yet. I'm trying to decide if I'm either going to start trying to wean myself off of the luxury vehicle during the problems of the economy right now. I'm trying really hard to be smart about it. But if I do allow myself that extravagance, oh my god, I'll be the crazy girl driving in the silver Maserati doing about 100 on the highway in LA, so just wave. I'll be a blur. I would love for you guys to know how incredibly into my job I am, how much I love putting work into the site, and how much you guys mean to me. And I really appreciate everything that all the people at Free Ones have done. I love you guys. Keep watching. I'm gonna do more cool stuff right after I update my website. What's up? I'm Wicked Pictures contract girl Jessica Drake, and this is an exclusive interview only for Free Ones. Hi, I'm Jessica Drake, Wicked contract girl, and I got into the adult industry by being a house dancer in Texas and stripping my way through college. And after about 3 years of that, I was a psychology major. I got into some really tough classes, and around the same time I was introduced to some people in the adult business. I came out and visited LA for a little while. I shot some men's magazines, and I did a little bit of softcore work, and then the rest is history. The other things that I did before I got into this industry, well, for starters, I was a waitress fresh out of high school. I was a waitress. After that, I worked as an administrative assistant for a bit, and during the time that I was going to school, I was a hostess and an assistant manager of a restaurant and a stripper at night. If I had the opportunity to erase this part of my life, and start completely from scratch, there is no way that I would. I think that everything that I've done in this business and since I've been in this business has really brought me to a great place in my life, and I've had some amazing opportunities, met some wonderful people, and along the way had some really awesome sex doing it. So I'm perfectly happy where I am. Before I got into porn, I definitely watched a lot of adult movies. The first time I ever remember seeing one, I was probably too young to be watching it, but I was staying at a hotel that had it on the TV, and definitely got my first dose of porn there. And then after that, I was sort of on a mission to find more adult movies. I snuck around and saw them any way I could. I was really infatuated with some of the movies that came from Andrew Blake. I watched House of Dreams. That was actually the first adult movie that I owned myself, was House of Dreams. And it was so intriguing the way that he could have people having sex yet still be just so beautiful, and the whole thing that he was doing was just so seductive. Not only did I watch a lot of porn, but I also had a lot of adult magazines around, and Pamela Anderson was my idol. Strangely enough, I've met Pam, and she's really, really cool. It was definitely a surreal moment, though, standing next to her a couple years ago at a Kid Rock concert backstage, because I was a Kid Rock dancer. And it was amazing to be able to meet her after having seen her pictures for so long. But I've always been into porn, and I'm pretty sure I always will be. When people ask me what I do for a living, I'm not always completely open about my profession. It all depends on where I meet the person. I do a lot of traveling, and sometimes if I'm on the plane and I know I'm going to be sitting next to that person for a really long period of time, and they start to get a little bit nosy, I kind of dodge the question. Maybe I'll tell them that I'm in sales, which I am, or I'll just be really vague, or sometimes I tell them that I'm just a housewife and I stay at home. But every once in a while, people are asking me what I do for a living because they already know, and that's where it gets really tricky. So sometimes I come right out and tell people, and occasionally when I do that, it's strictly for shock value. I'll have someone just pester me and pester me. The bellman in the last hotel that I was staying in, because I travel so much. We're in the elevator, and he has the luggage cart, and he's taking all my bags up to the room, and he's like, "So, why are you in town? What are you doing here?" And I go, "Oh, just a quick business trip." Naturally, his next question is, "Oh, really? Well, what business are you in? What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, audio video production." "Oh, wow, that's really interesting. My cousin does that. Where are you from?" And I'm like, oh, here it goes, because once he hears LA or San Fernando Valley, then he's really going to start thinking. And besides, I have my necklace on, so if he knows what Wicked is, and I'm guessing he does, he's going to put two and two together. So I turn to him in the elevator and I go, "I do porn." Yeah, it was pretty quiet in the elevator for a few seconds after that, and then he goes, "Ah, all right, that's cool." Yeah. And then, but he looked a little bit weird after he put my luggage in my room. He was standing there waiting for his tip. So maybe he's seen a little bit too much porn. I have been in the adult industry now for 8 years, and out of those 8 years, I've been lucky enough to be with Wicked for 5. If I had my way about it, I would be cryogenically frozen so that I could work for Wicked forever. It could just thaw me out when it's time to do my next movie. I don't have any problems being on camera as long as humanly possible. I'm thrilled with my job. I love what I do. I think everybody gets older, and that's completely natural. And as long as I look good, and as long as I can still take care of myself and act and have phenomenal sex, then you're stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. Being a Wicked girl has so many benefits. I have 100% control over who I work with. I have a very short list of guys. Now that list does change from time to time, but I put it this way. I'm not going to fuck anybody on camera, that I wouldn't have chemistry with in my personal life, that I wouldn't have sex with, say if we go out for a night on the town. If that chemistry is not there, I will not work with that person. Occasionally I get a little bit brave, experimental, and I want to add somebody to my list. And usually when I do, it turns out really well. So I'll keep that guy on my list. And sometimes if guys don't stay in shape, or they have a reputation for being late, or they don't know their dialogue, they will get taken off of the list. But I have complete control. I'm not quite as selective when it comes to girls. I mean, all they have to do is have tits and a great ass and, nice face and show up, and I'll bang them. I'm not really picky when it comes to chicks, but I just have a much easier time finding girls that I have chemistry with. I'm a bit of like a shark when it comes to girls. The best part of my job, there are several, and I can break it down into 3 different things. I would say the attention, the sex, and the money. And that always changes. Like, sometimes the sex is first, sometimes the money is first, sometimes they reverse those orders on a regular basis. But I mean, I've done the coolest things being in this business that I would not have ever been able to do just as a civilian. I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I've been to Australia, I've been all over the UK, I've been to Switzerland, I've been to New Zealand, I've been to Norway, Canada, Mexico, in the Caribbean, I've gone to Bora Bora, the French Polynesian Islands. I mean, really, I have wanderlust. I love to travel. And I say that's one of the coolest things that this business allows me to do. And whenever I travel all over the place, I end up meeting really cool people. I go to the Venus Fair show in Berlin every year. I've gone for 5 years now. And it is so great to be able to have friends over there that I can email and say, hey, I'm going to be in Germany, want to go to dinner? It's really like I have friends all over this world. And to have that feeling it's just a really great, cool feeling. I always have a couch to crash on, and that's always a bonus. And in doing that and all that travel, I mean, I get to just get out and do things, touristy things, and go check out the scenery. I always make it a point, if it's a convention or a store signing or dance booking, I always get out and see something. Because even though I am fortunate enough to travel all the time, you never know when you're going to be back somewhere, so you might as well go and do everything that you can do while you're there. And I do an awful lot of sightseeing, so that's really cool. Another good part of my job is that I get to meet people that tell me that they like my work, and they see me in person, and I get feedback from them. And I think that's exceptionally important, because if I didn't have fans, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be a Wicked Girl. I wouldn't be anybody really successful in this business. It's the fans that make a star. So I get to connect with all of those people firsthand, and nothing makes my day more than knowing that I've had a really big impression on somebody. And that's why all the personal interaction that I do on the road, at conventions, and especially on my website, that's why it's such a big deal, because I get that interaction. Of course the money is great, celebrity recognition is also pretty cool. I've been around a lot of celebrities at a lot of red carpet events, and it's really cool when they know who I am already. It's super flattering for me. It's just a really great, accomplished feeling. It makes me feel like I've definitely made a mark. In the last big Will Smith movie, when he's doing the dialogue in the video store, it's all my movies right behind him. And when he shot that scene, he had to glance at that rack and pick up those movies, so Will Smith has seen me. That's crazy. The strangest thing I was ever asked to do on set would have to be... I'm not really sure what constitutes strange. To me, I've done a lot of strange things. I've climbed out of the top of an elevator and rode up and down the elevator shafts. I've been the co-pilot in a two-seater little tiny Cessna. That was kind of strange, considering I don't have a pilot's license. I've jumped off of a two-story building. Someone wanted me to have sex with someone in a clown suit once, but I wouldn't do it because I hate clowns. I had sex once with a girl in a room in this house that had, what do you call it? The puppets the string puppets that you work with your fingers, marionettes, all hanging from the ceiling. So every time I laid down on that bed on my back, that was all I could see. To me, that was strange, you know? I was also asked to do a scene underwater while scuba diving. At the last minute, the production company decided that that would not be a safe thing for me to do, but I was willing to do it. We were in the Caribbean, and we were talking about what type of lube we should use because we were going to be scuba diving when we had the sex, and I was into it. I was like, man, I'll do it. And hey, what's the worst that could happen? Thinking, I don't know, your air tank might run out. That was pretty strange to me. I don't know. I think strange is very subjective. I was also once asked to blow 3 guys in an elevator, but we know that that worked out really good, for sure. I don't know. It depends on what you think strange is. My favorite director in the whole entire adult industry would have to be Brad Armstrong, of course. I think almost every one of the movies that I've done in my entire career that I look back on and think, you know, I think people will still be watching this movie for years to come, was certainly directed by Brad. He's been a tremendous inspiration to me because now I'm starting to direct too. And whereas I don't want my movies to look like Brad Armstrong movies, I definitely want to draw from his experience. I think he's been around almost 20 years now, so he definitely knows what he's doing. I also am really fond of Andrew Blake, Michael Nen. I think there are some really good foreign directors that I'm into right now. And as far as more recent directors go, I would have to say Joanna Angel. She really stands out. I think she's not only an amazing performer, but a really interesting director who has completely her own perspective. So I think those are probably my favorites or my inspiration.